time to get down to the Mr. GLOAT podcast, ladies and gentlemen, where we come down May the 2nd in Times Square, New York. So, ladies and gentlemen, this full hour episode is going to be mostly me talking about mostly for the rest of the several days of this week, of the second week of May, I will be uploading multiple episodes of podcasts to May the 2nd and May the 3rd and May the 4th, because this week we have a lot of interesting things happening, ladies and gentlemen, because even as of May the 3rd, Tom Schwartz, that hasn't been back in the ring for over a year and a half, is taking on a former heavyweight contender that's now a bummed out fighter of Sanad Gashi, which is in Germany as we're speaking, while there's other fights happening in Saudi Arabia, so that's going to be something interesting. And even though I'm recording this episode as of today on May the 3rd, as right now, and I might upload this one day, probably on Tuesday, just to up things up, because tomorrow, as of after Saudi Arabia show is over, we'll come down to Canelo Alvarez and do that episode and review all the fights about that. I haven't done that in a long time, actually, since I did the first episode of the GLOAT podcast, reviewing about Joseph Parker and the Joey Zhang of the pay-per-view of Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua incident. So it's probably for the best to go back and do this type of stuff again, instead of just talking about full random stuff that has nothing to do with everything about boxing, and sometimes it's not that entertaining. So it's probably best to talk about just one show and get along with it, just to get my brain pumping and get back to the groove of things of videos online. And when I do say getting stuff back online, ladies and gentlemen, there isn't a lot of stuff to talk about this full hour, because technically May the 2nd, we had not much to talk about. So Times Square, ladies and gentlemen, Fatal Fury, the City of the Wolves, where we have, well, is there anything we can say about it? The only thing I can tell you, viewers, is we have 4 professional fights, 3 12-round fights, 6-round fight. We have a Turkey Al Sheik, a Hulk Hogan, a little bit of Mike Tyson, and a bunch of rich people. Not a lot of fans. So I think you can say there were... well, technically, I can't say much about it, but yet again, let's not try to get into it. And even though some days ago, even before the show took place, Canelo Alvarez stated that Ryan Garcia will KO Romero if he wants Chavez Jr. But yet again, live on Fight Hub TV when he once pointed that out. But yeah, it's... sometimes our brain... sometimes we're way off, and this is one of them. So it's crazy. I just don't know what to say about this. It is crazy. But anyway, guys, back to the video. So we have a debut fighter, Raito Tatsumi versus Lavelle Winnington. Now, we did have a random amateur fight for the USA Boxing Amateur bout of an FDNY versus NYPD for some weird reason, which was a 3-round fight. I hope that was a lot more entertaining than anything else on this show, but yet again, what else could I say about this? I will say, though, the first round of this fight had a lot of interesting things coming to play here. So Raito is a junior champion. He was an all-Japan boxing champion in 60 kilograms last year when he fought at the time. I don't know if he won, but he did make it to champions. We know that. But yeah, again, I really can't say much about whether or not there was anything interesting about it. So the fight takes on Lavelle Winnington with 1 win, 3 losses. His last fight was a win. No. His first fight was a win. His second fight was a draw, and his last 2 fights were losses. And he's been off hiatus since. Raito Tatsumi has been getting a lot of followers since this fight took place. And as of right now, he was rated number 697 yesterday, but now 642 in the featherweight of BoxRec. He has 124 followers. And the fight itself, I really can't say much about it other than it was a fight. To say the least, a fight is a fight. But yet again, nothing much to say about this. Nothing to say much about this. So the fight starts out with just crazy jabs. Like, there was some great moments here or there in the fight where Raito was starting off strong. There was times that he did put in an interesting work. There were great moments in the fight where Mike Tyson was on commentary, like supporting on the guy early on in the fight and this or that. And there were times that he did had supporting and other stuff, which was kind of great for him to do that. Like, I will say, though, it was a decent performance for what it was, because what we were seeing here was a completely different taste. It was interesting. There was one moment when I realized that Turkey Al-Sheikh was in the fight, when I actually saw him getting up from his chair, and I realized, wait a minute, that's Turkey Al-Sheikh. And then I questioned, okay, now there's a bunch of rich people, because the area of the environment, because there is drone cameras in other areas at the time, and the environment was pretty interesting. And there were people with COVID masks on, so I did question that. I really did. But yet again, the fight itself started off decent, and some rounds were there. And even though Raito was debuting in America as a Japanese fighter, so I was thinking to myself, okay, they might be supporting this guy, just giving him a head start to see how comfortable he is if he could travel from another place. And there's one moment in the first round where I saw a mascot of an Elmo ? Don't tell me that's Fondle Me Elmo from the WWF Shotgun Saturday Night Live, but let's not get to that. But yeah, the first round started off, there were moments they were cornering, fighting each other, and Sato was doing a good job. And then there was a guy with a white shirt holding into a ring card, and I realized every single round it was just men carrying ring cards. So I realized this is not... this was a fancy boxing match, and I realized, oh, it's the pop singer. Or I thought. I don't know. I don't know if that was because when I actually thought to myself, wait a minute, is that Ed Sheeran? Is that Ed Sheeran? But yet again, I wasn't even paying attention. It's kind of weird because when they started the fifth round, they had Hulk Hogan holding up a card and doing this. I was thinking to myself, oh boy, we're going to have a lot of people booing at him today. Like, he's wearing all black, he's holding on. And there's one moment before round two started, they had a high view of a drone camera filming everything from high, and it shows the roof of Raito punching the punching thing, whatever you call it. Not the punching bag or something, but... So I did, there was a lot of problems with this environment. I actually questioned a little bit, but I was expecting really good fights in this show, depending on how comfortable it was. The start of round two was crazy. They start the round off with Raito fighting, and for some weird reason, there's actually a guy with a big red suit walking into the arena. And I was like, Ant-Man? What the hell is Ant-Man doing here? Because the second round starts and we see Ant-Man, I wouldn't say Ant-Man. It was a person with a full face, almost partly Spider-Man type vibe, but not the Ant-Man with the robot glowing eyes or something. No, I think it's some other person. It was some person, but it was someone dressed up in all red, like all red strap, and the parts here are black and something, and he just sees him walking out, and then I think I saw a big fat overweighted Hulk Hogan behind him. So there's a lot of problems in this. So, and the commentator, it's crazy because Mike Tyson does put over some interesting moments, like uppercuts and saying how Raito is doing a good job. And it's crazy because the commentators, I will say though, the commentators, Jim, probably 20% good, but the other 80% they're not. But with Mike Tyson in this first fight, he's really entertaining. I love that they even talked about how Mike Tyson's effect of how he started in his first pro debut fight and talking about how he first fought. his first ever opponent in his life, and back in 1985, which was over 40 years ago. And I love how they even pointed that out, even though during the middle of the fight, but yet again. And then he did talk about during the 6th round of the fight where they talked about his opponent, Lavelle, is doing a good job. And they talked about how he beat Hector Mercedes in his debut, this or that. So, yeah, it was pretty decent. But, yeah, there was great uppercuts. And there's a lot of punches, both bounding each other. They're both butting and hitting gloves and throwing punches to each other and such. So, but mostly Raito was doing a better job in that round, and he put in a lot of work, and it was pretty great. I enjoyed the fight even after round 3, and it was a really entertaining fight because of it. It seemed like it was a really good fight. I think there was one moment in round 2 or round 5 or something like that. I forgot what round it was, where Raito threw an amazing good punch, and then it somehow stumbled Lavelle, and he hit to the ropes, which was pretty decent. Mostly for the credit of it. But all in all, but I will say though, even though Tatsumi isn't that much of a good fighter, even though he is getting into the mix of things, because I wouldn't say he's good as a boxer. But yet again, considering it's your first debut in boxing and you do got to earn more rounds in boxing to get the better of it. So I am going to support Raito Tatsumi as best he can. There's great moments that he was handling himself in the fight. But mostly there's a lot of interesting moments. It was crazy because they even cut to round 4 and I see Elmo again. It's like one moment Elmo was on another side of the ring and now he's on the other side to the rich people where rich people are. There's a guy with the New York Yankees cap on. Yeah, and there are some Japanese people there and Asian people out there supporting the fighter, and I would actually say it was pretty good. But yeah, there was actually rich people, not a lot of fans as much as you think they are. But yeah, mostly it was a pretty great, interesting fight. But yet again, it was a 6-round fight. I wouldn't really say much about it other than it was an interesting work of display. I really can't say much about it, but it had its own, it had its moments in time of boxing for what it was. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't really say much about it. The fight went on 6 rounds. Turki Al-Sheikh enters the ring next to Raito, and they pronounce the winner of the fight, and he claps with him. And I forgot the announcer's name with the curly hair that looked like, I'm not going to say it, but yeah, the scorecards were 60-54 by 2 judges, 158-56. I had 59-50 to interesting 59 to a 55, because I did believe there was one round that looked like Raito needed more work on, or so I thought, because I thought round 3 or so, or round 4 might have been one round, because there were times that Lavelle was doing an okay job, but yet again, I might have been wrong, but who knows. But I think I might go back, because I think it was 60-54, but all in all, it was a good debut for him. 22 years old. He's a 5'5" southpaw with 66 reach advantage. It's his debut, so let's give him a shot and see if 2025 is a great debut for him, and we'll see what happens. Fine. Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr., the #1 super light welterweight ranked fighter for the WBO, takes on the World WBO super lightweight title, Teofimo. This boxing match, ladies and gentlemen, gives you a lot of interesting stuff. Like, guys, if I had to rate these matches, which I might not do for long, I might give the first match of Raito Tatsumi a 2 out of 5. I mean a 2.5, like 2.5 stars out of 5 or something like that. Like a 5 out of 10, because there was some interesting moments here or there in the fight and other stuff to talk about. But yet again, I wouldn't really say there was a lot of stuff to be granted for. But this first 12-round fight was not the way you expected. So here's the thing. The thing is, so Teofimo is trying to recover. His last 6 fights was a loss because he lost against Barbosis, and he had to go back winning 5 more fights. So if he wins this, he'll be 6 for 6 in his career again. Arnold Barboza, on the other hand, has been working out several wins in his career, but he's barely been winning fights in 2024 with Sean McComb, Jose Carlos Ramirez, which was a match that we'll get to later, Jack Catterall for the interim vacant title, Jose Pedraza, Daniel Zorillo, and even talk about his other fights early around his time, such as Alex Saucedo when he got knocked out in round 7, 2020. Or even the fight back in 2018 during his early career when he almost lost against Mike Reed. Or even the 8-round fights he had in 2017 with Johnny Rodriguez or Jonathan Chicas. So Arnold Barboza has been winning out matches that should have been much. Like he's 11 knockouts and 32 professional wins. He's barely squeaked out a lot of wins in his career. And it's surprising that he still has an undefeated record until this fight happens. So I question that this was not going to be a fight to talk about. And surprisingly, this was not the fight I really felt that it was going to be. I was expecting something more than just a fight here because, guys, there isn't a lot of highlighted moments of this fight you can talk about, but considering it for what it is, because I could say without a shadow of a doubt, Arnold Barboza is not much of a knockout person. He's barely even won fights by going to distances. We know he can go to distances, but the thing is, it makes you wonder where he's going. But it surprises me. So yes, Barboza's 33 years old. Lopez is 27, 5'9" for Arnold, so an extra inch taller than Lopez. They're both under 140 pounds. And even though Arnold is a 72 reach advantage and a 68.5 for Lopez, so I was expecting Lopez had to earn it more than trying to fight his way through. In round 1, they both started out solid for each other. There was moments where they were putting themselves on the line at some points of the fight. They managed to start leveling each other. Because, guys, every time you go to the first round, the fight will start off slow. So they're both dodging each other. Teofimo is wearing navy blue while Arnold Barboza is wearing white. And they're both stunning each other. There's times that Teofimo, every time Arnold is picking up his glove like that and high in the air, and Lopez starts punching it away sometimes. There's moments they were just stunning each other and going through clockwise. They were going mostly clockwise the entire time. And for the next couple minutes, without nothing crazy, they would actually get some offense done in the last 23 seconds where out of nowhere, Lopez comes into the attack and dodges, fakes left and fakes dodging under and going downstairs and goes upstairs and fights back. And then goes for a crazy body shot that lands perfectly by Lopez, which was probably the better moment of the entire first round. But yet again, I really couldn't say much about that. But yeah, we come out of the second round a little bit, and I actually thought the second round was pretty interesting, where they have both fighters both hitting each other a little bit as best they can. There was moments where there are times that Arnold was going for the attack a lot in the fight, and then sometimes Lopez would scare him. There were some punches here or there landed sometimes, but I couldn't tell by body punches. But there were times that Lopez was doing an interesting job sometimes, but Barboza was in the attack sometimes in the second round, as mostly. But yet again, it was a it was another close, interesting round, which was a lot more interesting than the first round because I guess Barboza did manage to put some good offensive work on him. Just for the heck of it, if that makes any sense. But it was a close round, but it wasn't entertaining for what it was. But nonetheless, they went on to just fight each other by round 2. And even though I thought Lopez might had something there, but Arnold Barboza, I gave it to him just for the heck of it. And by round 3, he comes out as another close round, which looked like a Barboza round. Like in round 3, there was a moment in round 3 in the final 30 seconds of the fight that there was a moment they were actually throwing each other and Barboza start to attack, laying out punches. The thing was, guys, that Barboza was too slow. He was so slow. And here's the thing, Lopez, there's moments where he's going out clockwise sometimes and he's doing this or that. And in the final seconds of the fight, they started weighing out punches to each other. And Lopez, before the 10 seconds, he swings a wild punch, misses, and Arnold connects him. So it was another close round for round 3, which was probably a Barboza round. And then in round 4 and round 5 was all Lopez. Like, all Lopez did was crazy. And by the way, we could actually talk about the first minute of the first round where Barboza went for the attack, but nothing interesting happened. Or even how he started swinging, where Teofimo started swinging punches and they hurt each other around 50 seconds of the first round. But all in all, there were times that there were connections, but it seemed like they were just being a little bit too calm. But I really couldn't tell. Round 4, they come in, and around 30 seconds of the 4th round, they're stunning each other. Lopez goes for a jab, and then Arnold goes for a body, misses way left even after Lopez ducked, which was crazy. And also Mike Tyson was back on voice commentary at the time, also pointing things out at the time. But I'm not going to get to the commentary because it's going to be too much, but let's just say it wasn't good. But yeah, Teofimo starts getting good punch combinations in the 4th during the final seconds. Even with only 1 minute left of the 5th round, he started to scare off Barboza. And it seemed like there was something into it than it is, but it looked like it was a sparring fight. Like, guys, after 5 rounds, I actually thought it was a sparring. I thought I was watching a sparring fight. And mostly, even though the thing was, like, Barboza wasn't throwing a lot of punches than he should. And there was times, like I said before, like Lopez was dancing, swaying this or that, not going for much. What he was, but not much. Like, this main event was a little bit better than the other last 2 fights. Like in round 6, there was a moment where Barboza was attacking Lopez to the rope with 1 minute left of the round. He's putting his glove up to the left. And he just started to, like, he was actually managing to attack, but like managing to do a good work. Like the 6th round was probably a better round for mostly anything about this. Like the 6th round was probably a better round for Arnold. And after 6 rounds, there's a great moment here. Like the score was 3-3 apiece in my opinion. And they were doing a pretty good job. But then in round 7, it just got worse because this is the moment when Arnold decided not to do nothing. Like he was so slow around round 7, round 8. There was one moment in round 8 during the first minute of the 8th round. He was, every time Arnold tried to go this way, like Teofimo goes this way, and then he goes back and starts tricking him going rope to rope. Like Arnold was so slow that he couldn't go for anything. And that was the problem. And Teofimo was tricking him out so much that it just seemed like Arnold just couldn't find the leverage of where he's going. And even in the final 20 seconds of the 8th round, Teofimo, like I will say though, Teofimo, the last 20 seconds of the round was pretty crazy where Arnold was going for really slow jabs, punches, and Teofimo's doing this, Doug, Duke, and this or that, like Prince Hassim Hamed. But the thing was, there wasn't a lot of action happening on when it came to power punches or even trying to hurt your opponent because Arnold was too slow and Teofimo was tricking him. Instead of trying to go for a huge win, they were just going for a full 12-round distance. So I just had problems with that as much as I did. And even the 9th round, it was getting bad. Like, and even after the 10th round, Arnold did finally try to go piece to piece to each other. Because like I said before, Lopez would sometimes goes clockwise and he would go counterclockwise, but eventually, during the final couple rounds of the fight, there was nothing interesting happening. Like even though Barboza was trying to get some offense done in the last 3 rounds, but Lopez was just outboxing him. And after 12 rounds, I had 117 to 111, and the other 2 judges had it 116 to 112, and one judge had it 118 to 110. So, yeah, and the winner was Teofimo Lopez. The best thing about it, like, I will say, though, guys, I didn't really enjoy the fight as much as you think. But consider there were moments that Arnold was on the offensive side, so I will give this match barely 2 stars out of 5. Like, I would almost give this a 1.5, but I'm going to give it a 2 just for the heck of it. But I actually love the interview. Like, they announced the winner, and there was a lot of great moments. I actually enjoyed it. There was one fun moment where just out of nowhere, Teofimo comes out, and he's just... it was just one of the most ridiculous things because... Like, Teofimo, like, I gotta type this in. I gotta look this up for the post-fight. I gotta look the post-fight interview was so good. And it's bad because now I can't find it. Wait, is this the one? Oh, yeah. So I love where he's calling out Boots Ennis, and he makes a fun joke. So he thanks all his supporters. He thanks God for the win. And then he comes out, he's saying that he wants Boots. And then he says, I'm Dora the Explorer, and I want Boots. I'm calling out Boots. Okay. The rest of the other promo and other stuff him talking about and was pretty different. But yeah. There were questions thinking if you should go up to weight class, and I think he should, but we'll see what happens at Teofimo and see what happens. But all in all, guys, I wouldn't say there was much about this fight that it is. Was this the better fight for Teofimo Lopez? No. Like, even though his win against Steve Claggett was a boring fight, like Jermaine Ortiz and... like, he's not a knockout person, so when you have 2 guys that are not knockout experts, it does give you, it does give problems. And that's the red flag of this entire show. There's nothing much I can say about that. So we have Devin Haney coming back from his professional loss, which is now a draw, taking on Jose Carlos Ramirez. So Jose Carlos Ramirez is trying to recover. He's not on his prime as much. Like, he's fought for 13 years, but at this moment he's 32 years old. He's fought for 13 years, but I still think he was a tough fighter. Like, his loss against Arnold Barboza wasn't a failure. He barely almost got through it. Just like barely getting through Josh Taylor, even though he got knocked out twice and that affected his performance and that's why he lost the fight. But all in all, I wouldn't really say much about anything else here because there were times that maybe it would have been effective. Because I'm sure he might give Devin Haney a hard time. And this was the moment when they were already trying to put out if he was able to come back because he hasn't been back in the ring for a long time. So there was moments that I was going to try to think to myself, he has to come up with something. What is he going to do? How is he going to do it? Does he have any ideas of how to do this? Because at this moment, there were times I was really seeing some interesting, like interesting stuff that was happening behind the scenes, but yet again, I wasn't really expecting a lot of problems in this fight because Devin Haney and Carlos Ramirez were two guys trying to recover from their career, and surprisingly, it was a surprising work to know what was going on because of it. But I wasn't really expecting it to be as tough than I expected, but it seemed like it was going to be an easy fight. And thinking to myself that Teofimo Lopez running away was going to be the least of our worries, Devin Haney decided to take it an extra step further to running away. It was not something I think a lot of us people were expecting. And the fight itself had problems. There was a lot of problems. Like, I really can't say much about it. It was not much of a fight to talk about. So all we saw from this fight was Carlos trying to go for the attack, and there was a moment where Devin Haney, there was one interesting moment in the fight, I forgot what round it was, where Devin was trying to go this way clockwise, but then he went counterclockwise, tricked Carlos, and he missed a wild punch and missed completely. And because he was on the attack while Devin was on the defensive. It was crazy. Like, he was going this way, he was going that way, and then he stood away like this, and Carlos went through a huge left punch and completely missed. It was like, you can't be that serious. And Carlos, again, it was just crazy, and I really couldn't say much about it other than the plan was that all Devin Haney was going to do was just run away from him. So I don't know why you would think that would be your idea. And by the way, guys, even before making this podcast, I had to watch the highlights of DAZN and see what they were doing. And surprisingly, this is what I got from the highlights. Guys, when you watch a video that's 2 minutes and 57 seconds long, I wouldn't say much about it. So there were moments like in round 3 where both Carlos is trying to throw counter punches and Haney is missing a bunch of times in the first minute of the third. They clinch. And by the way, clinching was a big factor in this fight because every time it seemed like Carlos was going to go for something, he covers him to the ropes. They throw punches. And once in a while, they can even go for each other. By the way, headlocks were a factor. And even Teofimo Lopez and Barboza did have headlocks and clinches in that fight. But yeah, it was bad. And even in round 6, there were moments, like I said before, he was going for the attack formation, punching. And this is the moment, like he's ducking. And I don't know what to say. It's like Devin Haney's strategy was going back and forth, back and forth. He goes clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. Carlos was so slow that he just couldn't get nothing done into anything. And even the 6th round had nothing interesting to do. The problem was, guys, is that all I was seeing was a guy not getting nothing done. Like, the first round was pretty interesting because both guys were staying forward and Haney wasn't really doing nothing in the first round. He was just going clockwise and counterclockwise, and Carlos was doing most of the jabs and great punch, and he was more the offender in the first round. But then you go to round 2, 3, 4, and probably 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9 was all of Devin Haney rounds. Like, there was, and also round 11 and round 12 for that matter, if that really matters. Like, there was one moment in round 10, which did actually got me to my seat when I actually saw Carlos finally getting something back a little bit once in a while, and they were evening each other up. There was a moment when they were starting evening the count in round 10, and I thought to myself, okay, so it seemed like Carlos won. Guys, there was nothing, guys, what am I supposed to say about this fight? Nothing. There's nothing interesting about this fight. It was so, guys, how can you say to yourself that after watching Eubank versus Conor Benn fight that was a war, and then you come here and watch this? And it's even bad because if you're watching a 3-minute highlight of a boxing video, or even a minute, then you know something's up. This is one boring fight I can just say to myself, why? Because guys, if you watch this fight over again or even watch other fights, you can already have a cure for insomnia. That's the only thing I can say about this fight. All it was just like, even though round 6 had something, and then there was moments in round, well, I wouldn't really say much about it. Like there was a moment in round 12 during the final minutes of the fight. And guys, I don't want to talk about the fight as much because it just seemed like there was nothing interesting about it. Because, guys, I don't know what to say about this fight. I really didn't know what to say about this fight. It was not a fight that I think you should go back and watch. And after knowing about the Teofimo Lopez and the commentators and everything going on, there's so many red flags here. Because how can Carlos Ramirez squeak out 2 defeats in his career, fights that he almost won by closeness, take on a guy that got defeated by a guy on drugs, whether if it was steroids or not, and then get dominated by him? Like Arnold Barboza, I get it, and I'm sure Oscar De La Hoya wasn't happy that his opponent didn't win. Yeah, his other fighter in the main event, let's just say Oscar De La Hoya's night on May the 2nd is not going to be good. Like, I don't know how many rich people were falling asleep right now from everything, but it was bad. But there was a moment in round 12 that Carlos did try to get something back. Like, he tried to go for something. And at this moment, I will give credit for Carlos for trying to do something at the end, but Devin Haney was just messing him up. Every time Devin goes for a punch, he swings, and then Carlos goes for a swing, misses by miles. I will say, though, the final seconds of the fight, which looked like Carlos was going for something, and then there was times that Devin was backing away. Like, Devin was escaping. All Devin was doing in the entirety of this fight was running away. Even Teofimo Lopez might have been doing some of that as well, but at least he was getting some stuff done. Even Arno Barboza was a slow puncher, but this made Carlos Ramirez a waste of time of his boxing career. He's not even in his mid-30s, and you watch this, and I'm like, why would I ever want to watch boxing again, even after the Eubank and Conor Benn fight? Why would you ever do this? And keep this in mind, guys, there were great referees on the show. Like Charlie Finch helped out Raito Tsutsumi. Even though Raito wasn't much of a person to talk about in boxing, he's been over for a quarter of a century, and he was a boxing referee last year doing the one-round boxing, TLC, TCL boxing things and such, which is just, again, nothing that I'm interested in. And mostly nothing much other than him helping out a debut fighter. You had Eric Dolly reffing out a fight with Teofimo Lopez in his first ever world title match. Even though the referee did everything he tried to, if that makes nothing sense, even though the guy's been a referee for 11 years now and he's been involved in so much stuff in the 2300 arena in Philadelphia, except the time when he helped down refereeing the match last year with Jaron Enos defeating David Avanesian in a round 5 cornerman retirement for the IBF title. But that fight was far entertaining because at least it lasted 5 rounds and Jaron Enos did something. This, even though the Lopez fight was bad, but I felt bad for David Fields. Even Ricky Gonzalez, that's going to be in the main event refereeing fight for the Garcia and Romero fight, is going to be worse, but which we'll get to in a minute. But even David Fields, did he even feel bad for doing everything? It's like last month he helped out Jaron Enos referee the IBF fight against Stanios last month ago, and how that fight might have been a dominated fight, even though the round 6 knockout, and then Cornerman retired the fight after that round. Or or even the time when he even helped out Jayo Pataya in his title defense last January against David Naika. And you see him refereeing this fight. And this is just, yeah, I don't know what to say. It just seems like there's so much problem. Guys, sometimes styles do win fights, but sometimes stylish and doing this or that, flicked and this or that, isn't always entertaining. Yes, it makes you that much of a tough fighter to beat, but it's not much of a competition. Like, I know you have to be smart, and I know that even though Tyson Fury had his moments in boxing, before he fought against Vladimir Klitschko, he was a man doing great punching, and he knew that Klitschko was a really dangerous fighter, so he thought to himself, I can't beat this guy if I'm going to fight with him face-to-face, so he decided to go full 12 rounds of messing with him, putting his hands back this or that, like he did in the third round, and he walks this way, walks that way, and he's telling Klitschko to come after him. Yeah, you got to be smart doing that stuff, but if you do that in every fights of your career, it's different. Don't get me wrong, even though Muhammad Ali's done through that, going flicked into jabs and such, but sometimes those things will work, but you have to be smart when you go to other rounds to try to trick your opponent. But if you actually keep doing the same exact thing from the 12th round, it might make you lose the fight. Like Hyunmi Choi tried to do that against Jessica Karmala last year ago in her country, and she flopped crazy. I don't know why the Korean team effed Hyunmi Choi, and I don't know why South Korea would ever do that to her. But the problem is Devin Haney not being in the ring for over a year is just that bad. You see him boxing like this, I'm going to be like, why don't you just go to the next weight class? Like, don't get me wrong, even though Carlos Ramirez has been in the welterweight before, he even fought in his early career in his pro, even around 2014, 2013 when he started in super lightweight, and then he gains up some pounds to go up to welterweight. So this isn't his first time being in the welterweight, while this is the first fight Devin Haney has ever fought in welterweight. And even though Devin Haney, on the other hand, like if you look up his resume, he's already fought a good amount of titles as a former lightweight title and undisputed, and comes out to become a WBC super lightweight champion, used to, and now he's going to become trying to fight for becoming a 3 weight class champion. Now he's number 2 in the welterweight as we speak, but this is just not something we would see of him being debuted in the welterweight. And even though he hasn't boxed in a year, he needs to be more cautious in the future. And speaking about not fighting for a year, Ryan Garcia versus Rolando Raleigh Romero, RRR, a 29-year-old kid for 9 years, been trained by Floyd Mayweather Jr. What can you say about this fight? Well, guys, nothing much. Like, guys, I will say, though, Rolando Romero did have some interesting stuff early in his career. Even in the 2019 and 2020s, he had interesting, dominated, undefeated fighters he had. By 2021, he did start to get back to the ranks and starts winning knockout fights. And he had a really close fight with him and Gervonta Davis of how both of them started evening themselves up. But by round 6, Gervonta Davis comes in and knocks him down and ends the fight. And then a full year later, by May of 2023, Rolando comes out, defeats a little bit of a tomato-type person to become a WBA super lightweight champion. And then 11 months later, or 12 months later, almost, by March the 30th, he loses against Alex Cruz by 8th round TKO. And then several months later, he fights a fighter, not an interesting fight, only to take on Ryan Garcia. Garcia, on the other hand, he's just trying to get himself into the mix things. And even though Times Square, this is the first time a boxing event has ever happened, but this was not something I really was interested in knowing because I didn't know how good Ryan Garcia was going to be in this fight. For the heck of it, because Ryan Garcia, I really couldn't say for certain how interesting this fight was going to be until we get to the first round of the fight. And in the first round of the fight, I will say this, though. At least Ryan Garcia was leading the fight. He was getting stuff done. And at least both guys were evening each other up, you would say. And both guys were there. Like, keep this in mind, guys. There's nothing much you can say that can make you think that there was any opportunities, that somehow there were opportunities coming our way, because both guys were studying each other. And even though Garcia had something there, the best thing about it is that both guys were managing each other pretty good. They were doing a good job. They were getting stuff done. And by the way, even before the third fight, the lights were already turned off at the time, meaning the outdoor arena was daylight during the first fight with the Japanese fighter. And during the Teofimo Lopez fight, of course, the lights started to flicker more, meaning that there was outside during the dark a little bit, but it started getting nautical night. And then the third fight came, it's getting more nautical. And then by the time of the 6th or 5th round of the Devin Haney fight, it started getting dark and pitch black. So at this moment, looking at the dark sky at night was pretty interesting to see the fights in lights, and seeing the billboard signs and the American flag and such. There was some interesting stuff here. And seeing the Japanese people and other Chinese and other type of other foreign people that were there, and the crowded people in the fence and other people screaming and cheering on. But the thing was, this was just bad. Like, the first round, Garcia started off and they were starting each other. He was getting something landed. And then in round 2, we get to the moment, like we get to a body shot. Rolando gets a body shot in. And then both try to connect punches to each other, and both connected. And then Rolando decides to throw another punch right into Garcia's chin. He tries to throw a second one, which actually blocked Garcia. And then his body flops down to the canvas for a knockout. Unbelievable. He gets back up. He screams a word. I thought he screamed "white boys," and then everything else was here. But surprisingly, he did come back and try to recover. He was going through the rounds as best he could. Like, even after that knockout, he barely won round 3. He managed to get through round 4 and round 5. And guys, I'm not going to talk about the fight again because it's a 12-round fight. The fight ended, and it was all 4 fights ended in decision. That's it. The first fight, not bad, 5 out of 10. The second fight, barely 4 out of 10. The third fight, a 1 out of 10. 1/2 star. This fight, again, 1 out of 10. And I'll explain why. After round 5, the thing was, these guys were standing up to each other, even though Garcia was landing jabs in that fight. But there were power punches and other punches being landed around that fight during the time. There was one moment in round 6 where Romero started to get something interesting here. He tried to throw a body punch, misses, and then Garcia comes in and attacks him. They go for a clinch, and they started wrestling each other 30 seconds into that 6th round. And there was also other moments they started doing, but yet again, I just can't say it because it's really bad. Because I don't know how to explain how bad this fight is other than don't watch it. Don't watch it because it's not worth it. It wasn't a fight to be remembered. There was nothing interesting about this fight. There was nothing interesting about anything. Like, yes, Garcia was winning the fight, and this was a match that was given time, but because, guys, all you were seeing in the fight were just doing nothing. They were in the middle of the ring. Like, Rolando and Garcia, they weren't going clockwise around the ring. Like, they were going clockwise, but they were both standing in the middle of the ring. It's not like how Carlos tried to chase Haney, and Haney was going way to the back of the ropes, far away to the middle of the center, or how Teofimo was trying to go through it sometimes against Barboza. And there was a moment in round 4 and other rounds and round 3, I guess, where Rolando tried to do the same thing, but at least every time he stopped, he started going forward. And sometimes when he does it, Garcia backs away. But then when Rolando backs up, Garcia goes forward. So it was a problem. And the rounds in the fight were really tough for me to even decide, because like it seemed like Garcia was putting like clear punches I could see in the fight because of it. Like, don't get me wrong, because I really did have believability that Garcia was getting something done in this fight more than Rolando. Like, every time they go for something, sometimes he'll go for something. One guy goes for a punch, the other guy backs up, but then goes forward and backs the other guy away. So that's the whole thing we were seeing in this fight. And there were times that they were going for clinches and other things in this fight, but was there anything interesting about this fight? Well, I can't say that because it just seemed like it was a pain in the butt. Like, take that for what you will. And by the way, before the end of the fifth, after the end of the 5th round came, they did show the unofficial score, which showed that Romero won round 3 and 4, and Garcia 10 and 10. But for some weird reason, guys, it's actually weird because before the 6th round started, they had this graphic called the Fight Night Koppinger's unofficial scorecard, and it showed Romero 9, Garcia 10, and then it showed the other 2, 3, and 4 round for Romero, and then round 5 for Garcia. But it showed the score 48 to Garcia to 46 Romero. It was the other way around. And don't get me wrong, some people think that well, to be honest, I did think round 5 was a close round for Romero, but I think Garcia won that round. But yeah, it's kind of weird because they actually, the graphic unofficial scores were so amateurish. I don't know how someone would have effed that up. So it was 48 for Garcia, 46 for Romero after 5 rounds, but it shows Romero winning 3 rounds and Garcia winning 2 and an 8-round point and a 2 nines, making it, I don't know. There was a lot of competence to that. But yeah, we come to round 6, and this is the moment when it looked like it was a really, really close round for Romero. As said before, there were moments, punches, and then there were attacks. Even the final 20 seconds of the round, he started to attack him a little bit. And I thought he barely squeaked out the 6th round because of that, so I gave it to him. And then they show this high view of a drone camera. And guys, I don't want to talk about the drone camera footage, but the drone camera goes to a high-end sky of it shows pictures of an brunette anime woman, and another orange out character, and another thing called a revolution or something, unleash, like something for some reason. There's a lot of crazy things in Times Square, but the things they don't do is sports. But yeah, by round 7, Garcia came out, and he did try to get some interesting jabs on the way. And it was actually a pretty interesting round. I thought Garcia won this round, which was probably another close round. But then after that, by round 8, round 9, round 10, round 11, round 12, was all Romero. The final scores were 115 to 112, in my opinion. 2 judges, same thing. 1 judge was 118 to 109. So here's my question. Why was Garcia not fighting back in the final rounds? Rolando came back, winning the last 5 rounds. And the problem was those last rounds were so boring. Even there are other moments in the fight that were so boring as well. Maybe round 6 and round 2, which was crazy. But this, and it's even worse because Garcia just cost himself a victory. And Rolando was already trying to come back from his 2 knockout losses in the last 3 years. Why would you do this? Guys, I don't get it. Because this was originally supposed to be a Devin Haney and a Garcia rematch. Now it seems like it's going to be a win for Haney and Raleigh. And I'm sure Haney was already taking notes of this fight, seeing Raleigh win and such, but why would you do this? Why would Garcia lose all of that traction for no reason? Why would Garcia ever do something that stupid of an idiot? And I'm not going to explain the last rounds because it's just going to upset me more, but eventually it was so bad. This fight generated more dumbness than everything else. And watching everything about the rich people there, celebrities, less fans, and how the environment of Times Square was, and with Turki Al-Sheikh being there, and now having Oscar De La Hoya losing a second fight with Eddie Hearn Promotion, there was problems happening behind the scenes. I don't know what, and I really want to question it. And even though they did congratulate Raleigh Romero, this or that, question, thank God, this or that, and even though they both hugged it out at the end of the fight, but boy, oh boy, guys, I don't know what to say. With Fondo Me Elmo being out there, Hulk Hogan and Ant-Man and other people being there, I don't know what's the point is to be in the boxing show if this is what we watch. Like, guys, if this was Brian Zane's Wrestling with Regret pay-per-view show, I would have given this an F-. Give 2.5 stars for the Japanese fighter. Teofimo Lopez, 2 stars. A half star and a half star for the last 2 fights. That's like 11 points. If you had to try to total 40 points of max score on the grade system, that's still an FFF. This is an F-. This fight looked fixed, which is why I don't want to say. I don't know for certain. I don't know if Ryan Garcia actually fixed this fight to help Rolando win. And I really want to question why all of these fights. And it's bad because the biggest cons of this fight are the main events, no knockout, and no pizzazz of fighters punching or even fighting each other. The only person doing the work of this entire show was Raito Tsutsumi, going 6 rounds. And that was a far better entertaining fight to watch, just to have Mike Tyson commentary. And the commentaries, on the other hand, couldn't have an idea to put anything here. This had so much problem that this fight might have been fixed. And they just gave Rolando the win. For reasons why Garcia thought he might have been winning this fight, even after 7 rounds when he had it all in the bag, and then he flopped it up. In any of the last rounds, he would have had a chance to win at least one more round, or even if one of the judges in the final rounds might have given him some points. This was an abysmal show with so much abysmalness. I just had to arrest my case. I hate every bit of this for what I saw. Because it seemed like Ryan Garcia threw this fight. Yes, he might have been... Guys, the problem is, I don't think Rolando Raleigh has had power. Yes, he has 17 wins, 13 knockouts, but those other losses he had in his career were 2 losses by knockout. So I thought to myself, Garcia was going to do something, but instead he decided to do nothing but to run away. And then, because both guys were evening each other in the beginning part of the fight, but then by later rounds, it just seemed like it was a ridiculous fight. I don't know for certain, but for all of this stuff happening of this entire show, these 4 fights, even though the opener of the 6-round fight was far better than anything else, half decent, and Lopez, well, can't say much about that, but the last 2 fights were makeup for disaster. Like, after the Lopez fight, they decided to go all in for a disaster that was about to happen. And this is what you get. I don't know what's going to happen in Saudi Arabia. All I can say is whatever's going to happen, I can't wait to review it. That's all I can say. I can't wait to review it. So, yep, Canelo Alvarez versus William Sco is happening today in Saudi Arabia. We'll see what happens when that fight comes. So with that being said, thank you viewers for watching this episode. And see you next time.